when we're going for refuge and generating bodhicitta, it doesn't really work without some understanding of renunciation. It doesn't really work if you don't have some sense of renunciation. So, renunciation means understanding the nature of cyclic existence and finding that unbearable and wanting to be free of that. So we had, maybe in the first year, Rinpoche explained a definition for samsara or psychic existence. This is following the notes that I took, and you should be able to find this in the Bodhisattva attitude. There's a section on that in there. So he described it as taking the description from the writings of the 7th Dalai Lama and Pabongka Techen Nyingpo. Samsara is part of the continuity of birth of the contaminated aggregates caused by karma and the klesha, or the destructive emotions. Part of the continuity of birth of the contaminated aggregates caused by karma and afflictive emotions. What that means is that generally what samsara means is continuously going from one set of contaminated aggregates to another under the control of karma and the afflictive emotions. It's another way of saying that when we take birth in psychic existence, then just like at the present we have this set of 5 human aggregates, the 5 aggregates being the aggregate of form, which is our physical body, the aggregate of feeling, which refers to our physical and mental experiences of pain and pleasure, also neutral feelings. So all of those painful or suffering feelings, unpleasant feelings, pleasant feelings, neutral feelings that we have during this life, they all go to make up the aggregate of feeling, our human aggregate of feeling. Just like all the different parts of the body go to make up the aggregate of the body, the first aggregate. So those are the first 2 aggregates. Then the aggregate of discernment, sometimes called the aggregate of perception, the aggregate of discrimination, recognition. It's to do with the mental activity of distinguishing one object from another, which goes on, during our day by day, throughout our lifetime. So all of those different perceptions or discernments are included in that 3rd aggregate. And then the 4th aggregate, the aggregate of compounded factors. This includes many sort of different types, a whole variety of mental factors or events like compassion and anger and love and jealousy. It also includes the the mental factor of intention, so it includes the karma. Karma is described as the mental factor of intention, so that's also included there. And then the sixth aggregate, the aggregate of consciousness, which refers to the five sense consciousnesses, the visual consciousness, ear consciousness, then nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, and body consciousness. Those are the five sense consciousnesses. And then the sixth one, the mental consciousness. So all of those different consciousnesses we have as human beings are included in that aggregate. So those are our five human aggregates, and we have these aggregates not because we chose to have them, but under the control of, or forced. We were forced into this life under the control of, maybe I should say forced by our karma and the afflictive emotions. So these, we come to have these aggregates, this set of five human aggregates, under the control of karma and the mental afflictions, and they're described as contaminated aggregates. Zakche, Sajinering Pumpo. Zakche, so contaminated. What's contaminating is this mainly refers to the destructive emotions. Again, they come up there. They're what is doing the contaminating. So contaminated means associated in various ways with the mental afflictions or the afflictive emotions. So that word, in the Tibetan, the word zakpa, which we translate as contamination, it has the idea of like falling. So the mental afflictions are called contaminated, falling, because they cause you to fall into the lower realms. So in general, cyclic existence means going from one set of aggregates to another under the control of karma and the mental afflictions. We, under the influence of the mental afflictions, or the afflictive emotions, the klesha, we engage in karma, and then sometimes destructive karma, unskillful karma, sometimes skillful karma. And when we do that, then we create the cause to have, to be born again in cyclic existence is one way of putting it. To have a new set of aggregates. Could be animal aggregates, could be human aggregates, could be hell realm aggregates, and so on. And when it says in that definition, okay, so part of the continuity of birth of the contaminated aggregates caused by karma and the afflictive emotions, karma klesha. So there, the continuity, what we understand from that is that this is something that happens again and again and again. It's like continuously, there's never a break. Like they say, there's never a break in the experience of suffering on one level or another as long as you're in cyclic existence. So there's continuously, as long as one is in cyclic existence, continuously going from birth to birth, life to life, under the control of karma and afflictions. But then, if you really go into it if you're really precise, then you come across certain instances of samsara which doesn't have that continuity. And that's why we have that word, part of the continuity. It intuitively, somehow in English, you wouldn't get that idea. But the Tibetan word is cha, so it's quite difficult to avoid, which means part, usually means part. So it's quite difficult to avoid saying part when it comes to a translation into English. But it's sort of, when you hear that part of the continuity, it sort of it's not really very clear. What it means is that it's there to include the cases of samsara where there isn't that continuity. So what are those cases? Rinpoche mentioned practitioners who've reached the path of meditation. So, we talk about the 5 paths. Like, for example, in the case of the Bodhisattva, the Mahayana path, you've got the path of I can't remember the terms Rinpoche usually uses at the moment, but anyway, it's okay. There are 5 paths: the path of accumulation, path of preparation, and path of seeing, when you get the direct right seeing, path of the right seeing, where you get the direct realization of emptiness, and then the path of meditation, where you'll continue the practice in order to gradually eliminate the more subtle obscurations that are preventing liberation, enlightenment. So Rinpoche mentioned, because there are that word "part" is put there to include the meditators on the path of meditation who are still, in a sense, in samsara. You say they're still in samsara. They haven't achieved liberation or enlightenment yet. They're not arhats, they're not Buddhas. They're still on the learner paths. But this is their very last life. They're not going to be born again in psychic existence. So there's no continuity. For them, there's no continuity. There's been the continuity since beginningless time, but there's no continuity in the sense of having to be born again and again and again under the control of karma and the mental afflictions. So this would refer to a particular kind of practitioner we call the hearer practitioner. They talk about the 3 vehicles: the hearer vehicle, Shravakayana, the solitary realizer practitioner, then the Bodhisattva practitioner, the Mahayana practitioner. So, because for the hero practitioner, then even after they've achieved the path of right seeing, where they have the direct realization of emptiness, there can still be the possibility of being born again for several lifetimes in psychic existence. They're not creating new karma to be born again in psychic existence, but because of the old karma that's gradually getting used up. So at a certain point, they reach their last life. And so that, at that point, they're not going to be born again in psychic existence. So there isn't that continuity. So that's the meaning of that definition: part of the continuity of birth of the contaminated aggregates caused by karma and the klesha. So you could put it simply as, you could say the samsara simply means taking birth again and again under the control of karma and mental afflictions. Taking birth again and again in psychic existence under the control of karma and the mental afflictions, and of course, therefore, experiencing suffering again and again, continuously, because of karma and mental afflictions. And if you put that together with what we understand about the nature of the suffering of the lower realms, then you really get an idea of, why you would want to be free of that. Because the continuity of birth of the contaminated aggregates going from birth to birth under the control of karma and the klesha, it's not like going from one party to another, from one, like beach to another. It's not like that. It's not even like going from one retreat to another. It's, it's, I think that's, when you hear, they talk about trying to have this feeling towards psychic existence like it's like being in a burning pit, stuck in a burning pit. You don't want to remain there even a second longer. I mean, I think there's a good reason why they use that particular analogy, because actually most of the time that's what it is. Very, very rarely, just from time to time, almost never, like it says in the Lamrim teachings, this precious human life which I have this once. So almost never happens. This kind of opportunity we have at the moment. Most of the time it's just, unbearable suffering of other kinds of realm of psychic existence. And Rinpoche talks about thinking of psychic existence like being in a cesspit, which I always find quite effective. Because even though at the moment, somebody says, samsara and how unbearable it is, then sometimes we think, well, sometimes it's quite nice. But if it's like a cesspit, you can imagine being in a cesspit, septic tank. You can imagine being in one of those, and you wouldn't want to. You want to get out straight away, wouldn't you? You wouldn't want to sort of, do a little bit of sort of like swimming here and there, and just, see what it's like over the other side. You'd want to get out straight away. So yeah, so to understand that as being the nature of psychic existence, there's either the suffering of pain and so on, or there's the suffering of change, which refers to the pleasant things which we get attached to, and every time we get attached to it, just ties us tighter to suffering that we really recognize as suffering, the suffering of pain. And at all times being, the ever-present, pervasive suffering, pervasive compounded suffering, which means basically no matter where you go, no matter where you're born, as long as you're in psychic existence, you still got the karma and the klesha, the mental afflictions. And that means you've got the possibility of being born again and again and suffering and again and again. So let's spend a few minutes thinking about that, because this really, the more you have a sense, you have an understanding of the nature of psychic existence, that's that's where we are at the moment, and the more the stronger the feeling you have that you want to get out of this situation as quickly as possible, the stronger your, so of course the stronger your renunciation is going to be, the stronger your refuge will be, stronger your compassion will be. The stronger your compassion is, the stronger your bodhicitta will be. The stronger your bodhicitta will be, then the more powerful your practice on the path to enlightenment is going to be, the quicker enlightenment will happen, and the more quickly you'll be able to be of real benefit to others. It's like there are countless others, sentient beings, kind mother sentient beings who we are going to liberate and lead to enlightenment, and it's like they're waiting for us to get enlightened. So the more quickly we can do that, the less time they will have to wait. Okay, so let's think about that to the best of our ability in order to get a sense of what cyclic existence, samsara, means, and to try to find it unbearable by understanding its suffering nature. So then we think it's not just me in this ocean of samsara. You talk about samsara, psychic existence, being like an ocean, right? Ocean of suffering. There are countless others, my mother, sentient beings. So I'm not alone in this septic tank. There are many, many others, countless others with me, also struggling. So it's not, so this is a huge septic tank. Not a cute little septic tank. It's a huge one. Oneself and all sentient beings. So recognizing I'm not alone, this is not just me, there are countless others, my mother sentient beings, countless mother sentient beings. Then we take responsibility, generating bodhicitta, taking responsibility, thinking that I myself alone am going to lead all these kind mothers, sentient beings, and I'm going to achieve enlightenment in order to be able to do that. I'm going to enlighten them, liberate them, enlighten them, and in order to do that I'm going to achieve enlightenment. So in this way, please try to generate the bodhicitta motivation. So that's the bodhicitta motivation, the motivation that we need to nourish and work with all the way up to enlightenment. And certainly just a motivation for this life, particularly for this year, and particularly for this month, and particularly for this course, and this week, this day, and particularly this session. Now, in order to, well, anyway, one very useful and very powerful way to keep that determination to achieve life for the sake of all sentient beings alive and keep it growing is with the bodhicitta mindfulness. So the copy that we were all handed out yesterday, that's an older version, and we're going to be getting a newer version that comes from the Bodhisattva Attitude, which is Rinpoche's teachings edited by Venerable Sarah and published by the Lama Yeshe Archives, right? Lama Yeshe, I keep wanting to say Lama Yeshe Works and Archives, but it's not that, is it? Lama Yeshe Archives. So that will be handed out soon. And I think probably we'll have time to go through at least some of that before we break for lunch. Anyway, so to finish off the meditations around the refuge and bodhicitta prayer, so trying to integrate that with the contemplation on the three principal aspects of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, and the right view. So then right view means meditating on emptiness. So most people know how to do that, particularly most people who are here who are students of Rinpoche know about how to meditate on everything, how everything appears like it's not merely labeled by the mind. In fact, everything is merely labeled by the mind. Things appear to us, then we label on them, this and that, sometimes good, bad, this and that, and then the next moment they appear back at us to have those qualities and attributes that we labeled on them from their own side. It's like we immediately forget that actually the one where those qualities that appear over there come from is from our own mind. We label it over there, and then we forget about that, and so that's how things appear. They appear like they're not merely labeled by our minds, and then we believe that. And that's the foundation for all of the mental afflictions, anger, attachment, and so forth, and therefore it's the foundation of all of the karma that we create, the causes we create for being born again and again in psychic existence and experiencing various kinds of suffering while we're there. And so meditating on how everything is totally non-existent in the way that it appears, because of appearing like it exists from its own side, not merely labeled by the mind. So meditating on how things are like hallucinations, totally non-existent in the way that they appear, is like the ultimate solution to suffering. So in this way, if we can spend a few minutes thinking about dependent arising and emptiness. Everything's dependent arising, merely labeled by our minds, and at the same time empty, of existing in the way that they appear. How they appear, independent. Independent of our minds, independent of labeling. Inherently existent. So if we spend a few minutes thinking about that, how everything is dependent, being led by the mind, and therefore empty of existing in the way they appear. Ourselves, everybody around us, everything in our world. So there's a couple of things I wanted to mention. So mentioned about the bodhicitta mindfulness. One thing also somebody was asking about Sarah's cerebral, wherever she is, was bringing up. It doesn't matter anyway. So yes, actually, Geshe-la did say when we were taking the precepts that he had been asked to give the precepts for the sake of those people who've never received the precepts before. Yeah, and then he felt uncomfortable with that, so he said, instead we'll try to ask Rinpoche to come one day to give the precepts to all of us. And in the meantime, he suggested that instead of him giving the precepts, we would take them all together in front of all the Buddhas and so forth. So some people feel some doubt about that, I think. You know, like they have maybe the idea in the first time that you take the precepts, the Mahayana precepts, has to be, you have to take them from somebody else. So then you have the idea that goes along with that, which is that if you were to, like attend like this kind of event that we had this morning, ceremony we had this morning, because you haven't received them before, you're saying the words, but you don't get the precepts. Some people might have that idea, even though actually Geshe-la did say clearly, let's take them all together. He knew that there were some people that had never received precepts before, and nevertheless suggested we take them this time in front of the altar. So Roger told me Rinpoche's tradition with this, which is that the first time you take can be in front of the altar, is the words that Rinpoche uses. You can take in front of the altar, but so you receive the precepts in that way, but you don't receive the lineage of the precepts, which is maybe to do with being able to, in your turn, give them to somebody else, that kind of thing. So, of course, at the same time, when you're taking the precepts, you have that repetition. We repeat the words for taking the precepts 3 times, and then at the end, what's really important is you think, I received the precepts. I mean, whoever you are, if you don't think I've received the precepts, then you need that in order to get the precepts. But otherwise, it's not like you didn't receive the precepts because you hadn't received them before from a lama and you weren't receiving them then, so you think maybe you weren't getting them, but that's not the reason. So anyway, just to repeat, Roger told me, Rinpoche's tradition is the first time you can receive in front of the altar, but that way you wouldn't receive the lineage of the vows. You only receive the lineage of the vows when you receive them from a master. Right? I think that's clear. So we all got the precepts, theoretically. Then there was something else. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. But anyway, I thought it would be good to mention some things Rinpoche was saying last night about the structure of the course. Otherwise you might not necessarily know. So in general, what's happening here is that, we're doing a retreat together, and what we're doing, all the practices we do are to get, in one way, because they're important practices to do, one reason is so that we're used to doing them, so that when we do group retreat elsewhere, we know what to do. If we do retreat by ourselves, we know what to do. So what we're doing during this retreat is, Rinpoche's idea of how we would do retreat if we do retreat by ourselves, whether it's a one-day retreat or 1 week or a month or a year, or whatever. So in the morning doing the precepts, the 35 Buddhas, the Gyurcha Lama Chöpa. The way we did it, there's not much out of the Gyurcha, the preparatory practices, but anyway, doing that practice, and then during the evening, there's something that I don't remember. I mean, I don't know about other retreats, but when we've done the light of the path, is it light of the path or lamp of the path? Light of the path, right? Okay. When we've done light of the path retreats before, we didn't do the 35 Buddhas, right? We didn't do that. But anyway, Rinpoche is suggesting we do one set of the 35 Buddhas, and then after that, either continue prostrating while we recite the Vajrasattva mantra, or can sit and recite the mantra. And then doing the protector prayers, particularly since, mostly the students here, the older students, so to do that, also to get us all used to doing those prayers, again, because it's an important component of individual retreat, any kind of retreat. So to do the protector prayers, and then if there's time, to do some meditation, and then the dedication. So the dedication prayers that we'll be doing, always the King of Prayers. It's like the basic one, or the basis. We'll do that each evening. And then on top of that, alternating, sort of rotating 3 prayers. And some of these are not in our book. So there's the Lama Tsongkhapa, the Totama. Sarah? Is it the beginning, middle, and end? This is Lama Tsongkhapa's prayer called the prayer of not the virtuous beginning, middle, and end, is it? Or just the beginning, middle, and end? Totama. And I don't know if we've... The prayer for the beginning, middle, and end of the practice. So we have, so you have a copy. So that looks. Sorry, you have a copy. There's a good chance that if we're really nice to Sarah, then we will be able to borrow it from her and make copies. Okay. So that's one, the Totama. Is that the one that Rinpoche often says Lama always used to do it? Yes. I've heard, I mean, of course, I haven't attended so many teachings of Rinpoche, but I've heard him saying several times, oh, this is the one that Lama used to like doing as dedication prayer. So you're saying Lama used to admire it very much, right? Okay, so that's one. And then the other one, I thought I got it when he said, but it's the prayer to be born in Sukhavati, also I think by Lama Tsongkhapa, right? Yeah. The third one was the dedication chapter from the Bodhicharyavatara. But there should be a translation of that available as well. Do you have it for the Sukhavati one? The Dewachen? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So those 3. Prayer to be reborn in the land of bliss. So the land of bliss, of course. Anyway, Dewachen, Sukhavati. I'm sorry? From Alan Vesna Wallace's Bodhicharyavatara. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, and yes. So I just mentioned anyway, Rinpoche was last night was talking about maybe coming for the precepts, maybe coming at this session, maybe coming at 4, maybe coming at 7. I've got a feeling the way that he was talking, it was like he wasn't sure whether it would be better to come along and teach. I mean, the evening session would be the lamp of the path. The retreat's the light of the path, right? The book's the lamp of the path. Okay. Yeah, so that would be, for teaching that, and then I think maybe he's thinking about whether it would be better to come along and teach at 4, or whether it would be better to come along and teach at 7:30. So we'll find out about that later. Yeah, so that's, and the other thing that I had nearly forgotten. We got half an hour. That's good. Because there's something I'd forgotten about. Geshe-la Geshe Gelek had requested that we recite the prayers to the 21 Taras and Rinpoche's long life prayer. a long, 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 very long life prayer. Infinitely long life prayer. I think we can do the 21 praises now. And that will be in our retreat book. 215 in the retreat book. From your sublime abode at the Potala, O Tara born from the green letter Tam, your crown adorned with Amitabha, action mother of the Buddhas of the 3 times, Tara, please come with your attendants. The gods and demigods bow to your lotus feet, O Tara, you who rescue all who are destitute. To you, Mother Tara, I pay homage. So sometimes we can do this in Tibetan, sometimes we can do it in English. Today we'll do it in Tibetan. Omo je je ma pa ma do ma la cha se lo cha se do ma nyo ma pa mo je ni ke je lo tan tam je den sum gan chu ke she ki ke sa je wa le ni cho ma Chasa tunga tawa kyun to kama kyani se peshama kama tunda zopa namangi rabdu chewe raparama Chasa sengo chuni ki peme chani namba kyama chimba sundu kato shewa Zeba samden che yu nima, chaza te jin se pe so to, tae namba gyawa juma, malu para jimba to be, gyawe se ki shin tu tema, chaza tu tara hongi ke, te tan cho tan nam ka kama, jiten tumbo shamgi nende, Lupa me pa kupa numa, jasa gyaji me la samba, lula na zo wan chu chuma, jumboro lan tisa namanda, nejin so ki tunne tuma, jasa cheche chatam peki, para tuko rap tu choma, yekyan yungyan shagi nende, me pa tu pa shin tu parama, chaza tu re je pa chenpo, tu ki pa o namba choma, chu ke shen ye ton ye tenze, tra o tam je ma lu sema, chaza kunjo sun sun chai ge, so mo tu ka namba kiama, ma lu joy gi kolo kimbe, Rangi ki sonan tuma, chaza raptu kawa chipe, ugen ki tinwa pema, shepa rabje tu tarayi, tu dan jiten wan du tsema, chaza zaji gyonwe sonan, tamje kupa nyuma nima, tanye yo iki huangi, Pomba tamje namba chama, chaza dawe tumbu uken, gyamba tamje shinto para, rabe kuna apane, tapa shinto rapsema, chaza kalpe betme tapa we tenwe unaneama, yegan yungun kunne koge, Trae punne namba choma, chaza zajin la chaiki, tegi nunjin shaki toama, tonye chenze yiki huangi, rimba tumbo namni kema, chazal dema gema shiema, nyangem tejin shuyu nima,
So Om Dayanda Tembe Tepa Chembo Jomba Nyama Chaza Kune Koraka We Chaye Lune Namba Kyama Yige Chube Ngani Kube Repa Hunle Chawani Chaza Ture Jepa Nambe Sabanyama Rera Mendaranta Cheten Sunnayo Anyam Chaza Haye Soye Nambe Reda Tachen Chananama Tarani Je Pegi Yinge Dunama Lepani Sama Chaza Haye Sonangyalpo Radamiyam Chitema Kune Goja Gawenjigi Sedamilam Nyambasam Chazanyama Tawagipe Jenye Pola Rapsama Anija Tutarayi Shindu Traperim Nesama Chazadenye Sunankupe Shive Tutayanda Tem Dundan Rola Nujin Sona Chompa Ture Rapcho Nima Zave Ngagita Patida Chazawani Nishu Tsai Chi. So we usually try to do the long life prayer for Rinpoche, like at the end of the day when he's here, and it's always kind of like difficult to get that to do it. And then it's always kind of... Anyway, I think maybe it's nice to do now while we can take our time about it. We might not do it during this session every day, but it'd be nice this first day. So I think, first of all, we can... So this is on page 325, by the way. Page 325. Bestowing supreme immortality. So besides, the bodhicitta motivation, well, in connection with the bodhicitta motivation, we want to achieve enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings, to leave the sentient beings, our kind mothers, as they are, is just unthinkable, have to achieve enlightenment for their sake. So that's why we need Kyabja Zoba Rinpoche to have long life, not just like living till 70, 80, 90, 100, just no limit. No need to have a limit. So let's spend a few minutes thinking about that, how we... Because the point of doing the prayer is because we want Rinpoche to have a long life. So thinking about why that's so important.
Rinpoche has mentioned several times during the Lamrim Chemo teachings at Land of Medicine Buddha what to think while we're doing the long life prayer for Kyabje Chudan Rinpoche. Of course, Rinpoche is not going to say what we should think when we're doing his long life prayer, but the same applies. So what he has, as I said several times, advised us to do is, as we're reciting the prayer, several things are happening. One thing is we're thinking of the qualities of this holy being, thinking of the qualities that are expressed in this prayer, right? Thinking of the qualities, then rejoicing in those qualities, admiring those qualities, rejoicing in those qualities, and aspiring for those qualities. Besides, expressing all that in the form of a request for the Holy Guru to remain with us. There's a little bit of thinking about the unthinkable, what you don't want to think about, which kind of makes the prayer more powerful, because you know that you'd be lost, you'd be totally lost. So this, we know why we need Rinpoche to have an infinitely long life, and also not just making sure there's not just a prayer, but also dedication, by dedicating everything that we've been doing during this session, during this day, from keeping the precepts, all the virtue of the retreat, all the virtue of oneself and others of the past, present, and future, dedicating all of that for this to happen. So again, this first time we can do in Tibetan. But those people who really have some kind of problem with reciting in Tibetan, feel free to recite in English quietly to yourself. Je do wa je we se ye cha be ke ta ton yo we bin za ye ten de ji me so gi joy jin zu se to ji zhen ya ten yin bu so zin la da me kun zu gen ji bu shi yin ta bai joy ki sa ken che ze den je chun la ma se wa de ken ra ta zan se gi wen gi den ni she che zo na ma je ba se je zha ji ri be de qian bo yong da qu gi ni ma sha den shuo qu zhi da wai da bei
zu loan den ge shi du mu ting gun bi zong gun pen de zhong men gi sang do de ge ge zun bi cho tu jab den jo la sam te te ye on ga bu gyun te cho sem gi da wa yon ki we mi se pen de tu te cho gi ta cho ke ma we da wa shab den sho che ba ka sun du zi long ya jem se pa mi se do je chen jan no som ba tap don pe me za do ngom da me dem be nyen du jab den sho la ma ye tam den sun kya zo da nan dong mi che den jong jam tu dai jai men be re te ma lu ba de la ni tu lung gi tu ro ji. There should be the page 323. We can also do, and then we can do a quick, what you call it, abbreviated offering of the food, lunch. Page 323 for His Holiness's long life prayer. Oi kan re rave korwe shingan di bendan dewa malu jungwe ne chenre zewan tenzin yazo yi shape site patu tengyu chi. I don't know where that is in this book. Let's see how many people know. Chanju sem jo rimbo che ma ge pa nam gi yu chi ge pa nyam ba me ba yi gong ne gong du pa ba shu. Okay, for the food offering, it's sort of an abbreviated one from this little book. I hope it will include the essence. So the first thing is the motivation, thinking that we're going to make these offerings and of the food. Maybe there's a thing in the book, is there? Is there something in the... Huh? 181. So don't need that one then. That's a relief. Yeah, okay. It's really brief. Very brief. But anyway, the extensive ones, it's like with the visualizations, you can have a very elaborate visualization of the merit field and so on, or just one being that contains all of those. And in terms of who you're offering to, it's the same, isn't it? Okay, so we'll use the one that's in the retreat book, which suits our timing anyway, because we need to get out and eat, don't we? So visualize the food as blissful wisdom nectar inside a vast jeweled vessel and offer this to a small Buddha. Visualize at your heart chakra. So in this book, the yoga of offering food, which it talks about offering to all of the holy beings in the various holy beings and holy objects in India, Tibet, Nepal, all the other Buddhist countries and everywhere else in the world, and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, all of the refuge objects and so on, especially, recognizing each of these beings and objects as being, in essence, one's holy guru, which is like manifestation of one's holy guru's mind. So that's all there sort of like fused into one in the form of the Guru Shakyamuni Buddha at one's heart, who embodies the triple gem and experiences bliss from the nectar that you have offered. So, and then he radiates light which fills your entire body. So first of all, have to make the bliss, the nectar that you're going to offer with the Om Ahom. So think of the food that's out there in the kitchen at the moment and blessing it with the Om Ahom. And you think that the Om, the Ah, and the Hum dissolve into the food, which makes it completely pure, blissful and inexhaustible. Om Ahom, Om Ahom, Om Ahom. Lama Sangye Lama Chödeje Lama Gendunde Gönge Jeba Lama De Lama Namla Chepabu. May we and those around us in all our future lives never be separated from the three jewels. May we continuously make offerings to the three jewels and receive the inspiration of the three jewels. To the Supreme Teacher, the precious Buddha, to the Supreme Refuge, the precious Dharma, to the Supreme Guides, the precious Sangha, to the Triple Gem, the offerings of refuge, I make offering. So you didn't get to offer by putting the food in your mouth and making it transform into blissful nectar that goes into becomes an offering to the Guru, Buddha Shakyamuni, at one's heart. But still we imagine doing that already now, and then we can, we can still dedicate, but that's not the thing that comes next. So, okay, we've got this, this is Sangha prayers for lunchtime, but we can, there's Sangha here, but also I don't know if it's just for Sangha to do these prayers. We already did the Om Ahom, and we can recite these prayers, and then we can go. Compassionate Lord, all-knowing guide, field of merit and ocean of qualities, Tathagata, to you I pay homage. Through purity free of attachment, through virtue free of the lower realms, uniquely ultimate, supreme, peaceful Dharma, to you I pay homage. Showing the path which frees those seeking freedom, well established in the trainings, pure among fields, possessing qualities. To the Sangha I also pay homage. To the principal Buddha, homage. To the Dharma that protects, homage. To the Sangha assembly, homage. Homage always to the three. The qualities of the Buddha are inconceivable. The qualities of Dharma are inconceivable. The Arya Sangha are faith in the inconceivable. The karmic ripening result will also be inconceivable. May we be born in a a pure realm. To the precious Buddha, the peerless guide, to the precious Dharma, the peerless refuge, to the precious Sangha, the peerless liberators, we offer to the 3 jewels of refuge this food which has 100, which is mouth-watering and well-made. To the King and his sons we offer with faith. Through this offering may all migrators become wealthy and enjoy the food of concentration. Seeing this food as medicine, we eat it without attachment or hatred, not to become fat, not out of pride, not to look strong, only to sustain the body. Okay, so, yes, please.
What he was trying to say was the Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archive. Singular, not archives. So we've sent 120 copies of this book that Venerable Steve was quoting from before. So, yeah, there's some out on the table, and for those who need the exercise, there's more up in the bookstore in Lee Hall. Also, if you go to the Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archive, singular, website, lamayeshe.com, and look for this book. You can download PDF, and there's also an ebook available in various reader formats. So basically no excuse.
You've only got one archive after all this time.
Yeah, but it's big.
Okay, bon appetit. Oh, there's something else.